Down 6 of the Rockets' 16 made threes on the night. It's a blowout in Game 2, 127-105, and the Rockets have tied up the Western Conference Finals at a game apiece. Welcome into our Atlanta studio. Post-game coverage here on NBA TV. That's Sam Mitchell, David Griffin, Matt Weiner right here. We talked about what the Rockets might do differently, or if they just do what they normally do better. I think we saw the latter play out tonight here in Game 2.
Well, they did do what Coach D'Antoni said. They were better at how they played, but the thing that I was impressed with, the physicality. They had their hands on Golden State on every cut. You know, normally when Golden State, Griff, you notice when they run that little action where Klay Thompson and Steph Curry sets the pin down for each other at the back screen, and they always get a guy for 2 or 3 layups a game because they slip and the team screw up on the switch. They were physical. They had their hands on them, their bodies on them. And even when Golden State beat them off the dribble, they stayed physical to the point all the way to the rim, and Golden State wasn't getting the calls tonight. So you saw Golden State kind of get frustrated tonight, out of character, committing some dumb fouls, and then taking quick and early and bad shots. Their offense just bogged down, and it just goes to show you, when you get physical and get into another player or another team's mind, you can alter how they play.
Yeah, and I thought it was very clear. Golden State struggled with this all year, and for some reason they came into this game without appropriate fear. And the roles were very much reversed tonight.
Very much.
I think they stood around an awful lot on the weak side. You saw them be ISO heavy. Kevin Durant had 38 points and was minus 28.
Unbelievable.
I've
never heard that before.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's a fascinating thing to watch the turnabout, and I think almost all of it has to do with Mike D'Antoni's belief that the ball finds energy. And relative to the clip that we may show again of him being really indignant about people questioning if they needed to change things, me think he doth protest too much.
Yeah.
My man changed quite a few things, and we're going to show quite a few of them and break down some of the changes they made from an energy standpoint and a ball movement standpoint.
Well, the energy thing, I mean, you guys know energy is just something you either bring to the table or you don't as a team. They clearly brought it tonight. And then they got contributions from players who just didn't play well in Game 1. Eric Gordon, who's been up and down in the playoffs, was fantastic tonight. P.J. Tucker was brilliant. Trevor Ariza stayed out of foul trouble and was a huge contributor.
Now looking at Game 2, I don't know if those guys didn't play well. They just weren't given an opportunity to play, but on one side of the floor. And Larry Brown used to say this all the time. When you have a guys on the floor and you have dominant players like Chris Paul and James Harden with the basketball, the thing that you have to do for your ancillary players, you got to let them touch the ball. Now, listen to what I'm saying. I didn't say shoot.
Right.
Touch the ball, because whenever you touch that ball and passing and things of that nature, and you feel like you're part of the offense, it translates to defense, and you're more energized, you're more focused, because you're a part of the game. And give Chris Paul and James Harden some credit. They moved the basketball. When they broke down the Golden State's defense tonight, they made those extra passes, which puts Golden State in rotation, and then that next player made the next pass. And Griff, we were sitting in the back. They had a sequence where they must have made 7 or 8 passes, and they had Golden State running around out of control, and then finally found Eric Gordon for a wide-open 3. And that's what Mike D'Antoni talked about. We got to move the ball. We got to move bodies. And once we break that initial defense of Golden State, that's when our action got to start.
That was a second quarter possession. I saw that as well, and I thought they should clip that off and just play that on a loop between now and Game 3.
Well, we may end up playing it on a loop for them. But I think it was really critical. Eric Gordon was one of the guys who really benefited from the ball movement. Once he got rolling and started to really feel himself out there because he was getting a touch of the ball, he actually started going dribble tantrum a little too much late because he had gotten so many possessions, he started to really feel good about it. The other thing we talked about, Coach, pregame that really bore out here, it's really, really important for them to be able to keep Trevor Ariza out of foul trouble, because Trevor is very often the one who can take the ball and make the play to the next man. He can draw, he can kick to the corner. P.J. Tucker fed off of that a little bit tonight. Trevor was really significant for them in terms of encouraging the kind of ball movement they need.
And Griff, how the game was called and how it's going to be called going into Game 3 and 4 and throughout this series is going to be very important, because if the officials let them play, you know P.J. Tucker, he wants to keep his hands on. You know Chris Paul, those guys are handsy players. And the Golden State Warriors, they like to play free. They like space. They want to get up and down the court and make their cuts and their reads. And if the referees let Houston be more physical on the point of attack and on the ball, then this is going to be an interesting series. I still think Golden State will win it, but this can be a lot closer series than what people think because Houston stepped out of their box, and they were very, very physical with Golden State. And you saw Golden State get frustrated. They didn't match the physicality, and it's normally the team that hits first is going to get the calls.
It's an interesting point because the Golden State Warriors are a product of the pace and space movement. They're a product of the three-point wave. They're also a product of the freedom of movement emphasis that the league has had in terms of officiating over the last few years. But one of you made the point that the roles were sort of reversed tonight, and that struck me throughout the game, that it was Golden State standing around a lot more than usual, watching Kevin Durant operate in the middle of the floor.
And again, that's very much an energy thing. It's an appropriate fear thing, Steve Kerr is going to tell you. They started this game, I think they had 5 turnovers before the game was even 7 minutes
5 in the
old.
first 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, that's just not acceptable. And from a mental focus standpoint, Steve's been dealing with that all year. They've talked about it ad nauseum, and for whatever reason, and I think it's because they're so good when they're good, they tend to take some of these moments for granted. They looked like a very complacent team today, and Houston looked like a team that understood they were fighting for their lives.
Golden State